Young Egyptian boy was given the task by his mother to go out and find firewood to burn in the home so that they could heat their home and cook their meals. And this very ingenious young boy said to himself, and I'm paraphrasing, I wasn't there, "Not many trees here, but I know where I can find things to burn." He went to an ancient tomb that he had found with some friends, and he began bringing back books of ancient parchment. And no one knows for sure how many of these books of parchment were burned for fuel and destroyed before the authorities found out about them. But the books that remain today are what are called the Nag Hammadi Library. And in the Nag Hammadi Library are some of the texts, many of the texts, that were edited by the Catholic Church in the 4th century when the Emperor Constantine took 43 of the books from the original biblical canon and completely removed them and condensed and rearranged the remaining books into the New Testament that we have today. So we know the information was lost because the Nag Hammadi Library is showing us that intact information. And among the things it is showing us, this is so very, very powerful, there is one of the books that is called the Gospel of Thomas. Thomas was a scribe, and it is as if the scribe were following the Master Jesus when he shared his teachings. And I'm going to talk about Jesus from a historical perspective as a highly learned man and as a scholar, not from a religious perspective, for the purposes of what we're doing here. Because Jesus was an Essene. The Essenes were known by the Egyptians not by the word Essene, but by the word therapeute, because they were healers. They understood the relationship between the human body and this field around us, as well as within us, and these understandings were reflected in the teachings of the Master Jesus, specifically when he was talking about human relationships. And I'm going to share with you 3 mirrors of human relationship that he alluded to and how they can play out in our lives today. And if you've never seen this before, I think you'll be in awe, maybe not surprised, but in awe at how accurate these mirrors are, how they could have been known so long ago, and how they're still playing out in our lives today. So let me talk to you about the first mirror of relationship. Jesus spoke in parables. He was not a scientist, so he used stories to talk about these specific mirrors. So I'd like to share with you in his own words how he described the first mirror of human relationship, mirror number 1. And this is a quote. He said, "You read the face of the sky and of the earth, but you have not recognized how to read this very moment." What he's talking about in this parable is the simplest of all the mirrors. The mirrors become more complex and more sophisticated as they increase 2, 3, and 4. Mirror number 1 is the most obvious. It's the mirror of the moment. He's talking to us about the mirror of the moment. And this is the mirror that you probably are most familiar with. It became popularized in the mid-1980s during the time of the harmonic convergence, when the New Thought movement, the New Age movement, was becoming very popular. And it was often used in a very cruel way. People would often say, you know, if you don't like what's happening in your life, look at yourself, because your life is just showing you who you are. So if you're surrounded by angry people, it's showing you your anger. If you're surrounded by hurtful people, it's showing you your hurt. If you're surrounded by people who aren't honest, it's showing you your dishonesty. And they didn't allow for any other mirrors, and this was a very, very hurtful way of thinking about this mirror, but this is how we learn. This was the community of New Thought people becoming aware of the mirrors and the complexity of the mirrors. They were beginning with mirror number 1. So sometimes it's true. Sometimes the world around us, our coworkers, our friends, our most intimate relationships are showing us who we are in the moment. And if that's true, if you ask yourself, are these people showing me myself in the moment, then you know where your workshop begins in healing what's happening. But there are other mirrors, and sometimes this is not the case. So I want to share with you just quickly a story that illustrates the second mirror. The early 1990s, 3 people came into my life, all in the same month, and that should have been my clue. It should have been the heads up that something big was about to happen. Because almost immediately, all 3 of them began to make me crazy. One of them was a business relationship, one was a friendship, and one was a romantic relationship. And I had a pattern. I was traveling a lot for business at the time. And rather than dealing with these people, I would say, if I can just get by another couple of days, I'm going to go on a trip to another event, and then I'll deal with it when I come back. And that's what I would do. And I would do this again and again and again. Well, one day I came home from an event, and what I found was I came home to an empty bank account. One of the people in my series of relationships, the romantic relationship, had drained my bank account. It was empty. And it forced me to stop everything that was happening in my life, because I couldn't do anything else, and come to terms with what was happening. The business relationship, I'd just been on a long tour. The businessman had called me and said, the good news is the tour is over and everything's paid for. The flip side is there's no money left to give you after the tour. We broke even. The third part of the relationship was a friendship. Now, this was in the early 1990s, and this is in the state of New Mexico, and I'm saying this because my friend, who was living on my land in a home that I was loaning to my friend in exchange for watching my land while I was traveling, during the time I was traveling, had chosen to embark upon growing hash crop that was illegal in the state of New Mexico in the 1990s. So I think you know where that's going. So each of these people had done something that had violated my trust, that had violated our confidence, that had betrayed me in some way. They did something that wasn't honest. I took a long walk down a dirt road where I've created entire books when I walk on this road. They don't have to worry about traffic or other people. It is a road that goes on and on and on. And while I was walking on this road, I asked myself this question. I said, obviously something is up for me with these relationships. What are these people showing me? What is the common theme that runs through each one of these relationships? And immediately this inner voice came up and said, honesty, trust, integrity. Now, in the old way of thinking about mirrors, I would have taken that to say that there was a problem with my honesty, my trust, my integrity. And I asked from within, I said, are these people showing me that I'm not honest, that I don't have integrity, that I lack trust? And this voice welled up inside and screamed, no, no. That's what your work is all about. It's all about honesty, trust, and integrity. And immediately that same voice illuminated the second mirror of relationship that I want to share with you right now. These people in these relationships, they were not showing me what I was in the moment. They were not showing me that I lacked trust and integrity and honesty. They were showing me what I judged in the moment, and that's the second mirror. The second mirror of what we judge, and it was true. I had a powerful charge on honesty, on trust, and integrity. And that mirror was so powerful, and the energy was so powerful that it was showing up in 3 of the most significant relationships of my life. This is an example of how that second mirror shows up. And when you think about your own life, look at the people in your life, look at what they're showing you. Ask yourself through your intuition, close your eyes, go into your heart, and say, are the people around me, my friends, my lovers, my siblings, my children, my coworkers, are they showing me what I am in the moment when they make me crazy, when they make me angry, when they push all those buttons? If the answer is yes, as I said, you know where your workshop begins. But if the answer is no, there's a very good possibility that they may be showing you this second mirror of relationship, not what you are in the moment, rather what you judge in the moment. And that's mirror number 2. I want to share with you a third mirror. And this is one of the most powerful mirrors for me. And I'm going to begin with the parable from Jesus, from the Master, again, because it's such a beautiful parable. And what Jesus said is this: the kingdom of my Father is like a certain woman who is carrying a jar full of meal. While she was walking on a road still some distance from home, the handle of the jar broke, and the meal emptied out behind her on the road. She did not realize it. She had not noticed the incident. Now, I want you to think about this parable and what it's saying, and what it means to you and how it applies in your life. Let me share with you an insight. In this parable, you are the vessel, and the meal that's inside the vessel is your love. And as you and myself, because we're in this together, as we go through life, we find ourselves in situations where we give ourselves away to compromise. We give ourselves away to keep the peace. We give ourselves away, sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously. Little by little by little, we compromise ourselves, and that is like the meal draining from that jar throughout our lives. And then at some point, we find ourselves in a relationship where we truly want to give ourselves to love, and we reach inside the vessel of us and it's empty because we've given all that love away. We've compromised that love. That's what this mirror is all about. It is a powerful mirror. Let me share with you how it works. If you've ever felt a really powerful attraction to another person for reasons that you could not explain, you might be in a perfectly happy relationship. Maybe you're in a committed relationship. Maybe you're married. And a friend or a coworker or someone in the grocery store, all of a sudden you find yourself powerfully, magnetically attracted to this other person. This is how this mirror plays out. Now, often we never get to understand the mirror because our culture says it's wrong to have those feelings. So we spend our time denying and hiding and discounting the feelings. But I'm going to invite you to try something. Next time this happens, and it will happen because it happens to all of us if we're honest about it. Next time you find yourself powerfully drawn to another person for reasons that you may not understand, ask yourself subconsciously this question. I'm not saying to do it out loud, but if you find yourself powerfully drawn to a person, engage them in conversation about anything. How's the weather? How's your day? How's the family? Whatever it is. While you're talking to them, ask this question silently inside of yourself. What is it that I see in this person, or that I sense in this person, that I've lost, given away, or had taken from me by those who had power over me? And you'll be amazed at what comes to you. You'll be amazed at the inner voice, the inner insights that come back and say to you that there is a quality about the person that you're magnetically drawn to that you aspire to. This is what the attraction is all about. When we feel this powerful magnetic attraction, the Master is telling us why. As we compromise, as we give away pieces of ourselves, some of us have those pieces taken by those who have power over us when we're young, and it's a pattern that continues throughout our lives. As those things happened, you and I will search the world because we long to be complete. We long for the wholeness that can only come from finding those pieces again. And when we find ourselves in the presence of someone who has what it is that we've lost, given away, or had taken away, and we say, I feel really good around this person, I feel whole, I feel complete. Couples often say, it's my other half, my better half, I'm complete with this person. And we laugh when we hear that as a metaphor, but they may be actually telling you the deepest truth of their deepest secret. That they are now in the presence of someone that fills in the gaps, that completes the places that they've lost or given away. And we will continue in these relationships and allow those people to reflect back to us what it is that we long to have, until subconsciously or maybe consciously, we remember and we reclaim that part of ourselves. And this is where it gets really interesting, because when we reclaim those parts, we no longer feel the attraction. And if we don't know what just happened, we say, oh, well, I'm not in love anymore. When the truth is that you may be in a relationship where the love is so deep that you are now more complete, more whole, and healthier than you have been for a very long time. And then the question becomes, do I continue this relationship because of that love? How deep can we go, and how far can we go in this new way of being? Or do you find yourself in a place where you say, you know what? I want to find another piece of myself. So you find another person where you feel that deep, powerful attraction. So we're just barely scratching the surface, but I want to give you the insights of how powerful these mirrors are in our lives. And once again, I'm going to bring this back to the theme of this entire series. These mirrors are playing out through the stuff that fills the empty space of the field, of this matrix, of the Higgs field, of the divine matrix, or whatever it is we want to call it, because what's happening between you and that other person has to be happening through the conduit of this field. Mirror number 3 is the mirror of the things that we've lost, given away, or had taken away within ourselves. And while the mirrors of our reflected reality are fascinating and they're giving us deeper insights into our very existence, even those mirrors are playing out from inside of an even deeper mystery. They're happening within the divine matrix, and they're part of a mystery that has haunted scientists for over 300 years. The mystery I'm talking about is the mystery of time itself. After 300 years of theories and equations and experiments, we still don't know precisely what it is and exactly how it fits into our lives.